Josef Fritzl, the sickening story of a monstrous dad's 24-year imprisonment of his daughter. Elizabeth Fritzl spent almost 24 years in captivity and was confined to a makeshift cellar and repeatedly tortured by her father, Josef Fritzl. The unimaginable story of Elizabeth Fritzl is a case of incest and abuse that's so horrific it's hard to believe it happened. In this post, we'll take a closer look at the story and its effects on Elizabeth and her family. Welcome to AF Crime, the channel that brings you fascinating crimes all around the world. If you're interested in this kind of content, then this channel is for you. Make sure to like this video, click on the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell to keep you updated on our recent uploads. Now, let's get right into the video and investigate the crime scene of Josef Fritzl and the hell he puts his own daughter through. Elizabeth was born in Austria in 1966 to Josef Fritzl and Rosemarie. She had 6 siblings. Elizabeth's father used to abuse her when she was only 11 years old in 1977. After completing her schooling, Elizabeth started preparing to become a waitress when Elizabeth turned 15. On August 28, 1984, Elizabeth Fritzl went missing. Elizabeth's mother, Rosemarie, filed a missing persons report, frantic over her daughter's whereabouts. There was no word from her for weeks, and Elizabeth's parents were left to assume the worst. And then, out of nowhere, a letter arrived from Elizabeth, reporting that she had grown tired of her family life and ran away. Josef told the police that he had no idea where she would go, and that she most probably joined a religious cult, as it was something she had talked previously about doing. However, the truth was that Josef Fritzl knew where his daughter was. Elizabeth Fritzl was 20 feet below where the police officer was standing. In 1984, Josef Fritzl called his daughter to help him fit a door in their home's basement. When Elizabeth was about to leave the place, she was tragically held over by a small cloth piece filled with ether over her mouth and nose. Now, unaware of his intentions and how life would turn after his event, Elizabeth went downstairs to help her father. Elizabeth had no clue that she was helping her own father's plan to lock his daughter up as a sex slave. Josef Fritzl planned on building an underground prison cell for many years and even got the official permission from the municipal authorities much earlier in the late 1970s. In those days of the Cold War, building nuclear bunkers in the basement of a home was pretty normal, so getting permission was not tricky for Josef. A series of doors needed to be opened before reaching the cellar where Josef planned to keep her as his captive. The door Elizabeth had helped fix completed the soundproof bunker and sealed her fate. And after chaining her arms behind her back so she could only move half a meter to either side of the bed, the next day he sexually assaulted her for the first time. After 6 months, he removed the chain as it was hindering his sexual activity. Throughout Elizabeth's captivity, her father beat and kicked her, forced her into degrading acts, which included reenacting scenes from violent porn films, and sexually assaulted her several times a day. Elizabeth had to go through unimaginable things for the next 24 years, as the horror unveiled on her was never ending. She was sometimes forced to catch rats with her bare hands. Josef abused her sexually and used to sexually assault her numerous times a day for many years until Elizabeth was released in April 2008. He sexually assaulted her around 3,000 times in those 25 years, which resulted in 7 babies. Her children had to witness her abuse as they grew older. One of Elizabeth's children died prematurely right after his birth in the cellar in 1996. The child was facing difficulty breathing and had died in her arms when he was 3 days old. Josef later admitted that he burned the body in an incinerator. When the baby started to grow up, it was really scary for her. Elizabeth even tried to commit suicide, but looking at her kids, she had a purpose of living after many years of being alone. Elizabeth gave birth to all babies without seeking any medical help for almost 12 years. Josef gave her a disinfectant, a dirty pair of scissors, and a book on childbirth when she went into labor. Josef even threatened to kill Elizabeth and her children if they tried to escape. The charge released by the court stated he told them he had installed a system so that the doors would give them electric shock if they tried to open them, and the poison would be released into the cellar if they tried to escape, killing them all instantly. Josef used to turn off the power supply to the basement for days, so Elizabeth was left alone in complete darkness. to hide away what he was doing from Rosemary. And then he staged elaborate discoveries of the children, usually placing them on bushes near the home or on the doorstep. Each time the kid would be swaddled neatly and accompanied by a note reportedly written by Elizabeth, stating that she couldn't take care of the baby and then was leaving it with her parents for safekeeping. Shockingly, the officials were, after all, under the impression that Rosemary and Josef Fritzl were the baby's grandparents. It is unknown how long Josef planned on keeping his daughter captive in the basement. Josef Fritzl had gotten away with it for 24 years, and for all the police knew, he would continue for another 24. But in 2008, one of the children in the cellar fell ill. She'd fallen rapidly and seriously ill, and Elizabeth Fritzl was beside herself. Elizabeth begged Josef Fritzl to allow her 19-year-old daughter, Kirsten, to get medical attention. Grudgingly, Fritzl agreed to take her to a hospital. He then removed Kirsten from the cellar and called an ambulance, stating that he had a note from Kirsten's mother explaining the condition. For over a week, the police questioned Kirsten and later asked the public for any information on her family. So naturally, when no one came forward and there was no family to speak of, the police eventually became suspicious of Josef, and they reopened the investigation into Elizabeth Fritzl's disappearance. They started to read the letters which Elizabeth had supposedly been leaving for the Fritzls and started seeing inconsistencies. The world may never know whether Josef Fritzl finally felt the pressure or had a change of heart related to his daughter's captivity. However, on April 26, 2008, then he released Elizabeth from the home cellar for the first time in 24 years. She instantly went to the hospital to see her daughter, where the hospital staff alerted the police to her suspicious arrival. That night, Kirsten was taken into custody to be questioned about Elizabeth's daughter's illness and her father's story. And after making the police promise she never had to see her father again, Elizabeth told the tale of her 24-year imprisonment. She later explained that her father kept her in the basement of their house and that she bore 7 children. She said that Josef was the father of all 7 of them and that Josef would come down during the night and make her watch pornographic films and then rape her. Elizabeth Fritzl explained that her father had been abusing her ever since she was 11. Elizabeth now lives under a new identity in a secret Austrian village named Village X. Also, the house is now under constant CCTV surveillance, along with police patrolling every corner. Also, the family doesn't allow interviews anywhere within their walls and declines to give any themselves. Even though Elizabeth is now in her mid-50s, the last picture taken of her was when she was only 16 years of age. The efforts to hide her new identity were made to keep her past hidden from the media and also let her live her new life. Many believe that they have done a better job of making sure of her immortality as the girl held captive for 24 years. Her father, Josef, is in a Garston Abbey prison and suffers from dementia. Josef switched his name to Josef Meyerhoff and did not want to reveal his identity in his final days. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments section below. If you liked today's video and found it interesting, then make sure to leave a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon to always be updated with the latest content as soon as it's uploaded. Thanks for watching AF Crime Video. See you again soon in another crime busting case.